Well, hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Mr. Brown Show. I'm Mr. Brown, and you know what we're all about. When you make better choices, you live a better life, so choose well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's my son on the soundboard. I will put my daughter on there pretty soon. Matter of fact, they're actually in the studio right now waiting for their turn to be put on the soundboard. So I'm going to put Sophia on the soundboard so she can say,
oh, yeah.
On demand. Anyway, hey, this is another episode. I know some of you are not that happy or kind of tired of hearing about COVID-19 and the coronavirus, and I get it. We're all getting fatigued with it, and knowing now we have these new shelter-in-place orders for another 30 days. The news that some schools may not open again for the rest of the school year. It's tough, but I think it's a conversation you need to have. And today I have someone on the show, a friend of mine. We go way back. We go way back. And he actually has been diagnosed with COVID-19, and he's recovering right now. And so I wanted to have him on the show. And I would have barely known because, you know, even though we have a lot of friends on Facebook, and currently, I'm not bragging, but I have 4,900 Facebook friends. And I have that many Facebook friends, but the truth is, when I post stuff, they don't see it. When they post stuff, I rarely see it. I don't know how that thing works. But I happened to see a post of his and saying he had COVID-19. I'm like, whoa, hold on. That one stopped me a little bit. So I called him. He still got the same phone number. So that's a tip for some of y'all young people. Keep the same phone number your whole life. Stop switching phone numbers. Nobody can find you. Keep the same number. So anyway, I want to introduce to y'all my friend. We go way back, Javon Jones. Welcome to the show, my man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I kind of wish it would have been under different circumstances, but you living the dream. I would say that because of COVID-19, but I think where you are right now. So I want to talk about COVID-19. First of all, talk about what you do. And just let's talk about pre-COVID-19. Who is Javon Jones? What do you do for a living?
Okay, so I'm a flight attendant for Southwest Airlines. So prior to COVID-19, I was flying the friendly skies, making people happy, getting people to their destination safely.
Now, I will admit to you, I try to only fly Southwest. That's real. I usually don't let people say, companies on the show unless they're sponsors. But I will honestly tell you, no, for real. I will tell you straight up, I appreciate Southwest. I will try to fly them all the time because they take care of a brother. I mean, they make you feel good. As a matter of fact, I don't know, Javon, did you go through that training, that video they show some Southwest agents about give them the pickle? Did you go through that training?
I actually did.
Yeah. See, I know about that video.
I did. Yeah, I did.
So explain to everybody what the video Give Them the Pickles all about so they can figure out why y'all do such good customer service.
Basically, what it's about is about always showing grace. So, we went through a training and talked about, when do you determine if a passenger is late or if how do you determine if you wait on the passenger or if you continue to go on? And so give them the pickle is basically like always remember to show grace in anything because unless they'll teach you if there's other flights that the passenger can get on, we may continue on. But if it's the last flight of the night, we're going to always show grace to get our passengers to their destination.
Now, in that video, didn't they show something about somebody giving somebody actual pickle on a sandwich or something where the server didn't want to give them the pickle and the customer got upset and they made this big ado about a pickle? Wasn't that part of it as well?
It was. So I didn't actually see the actual video of it.
Okay.
But I went through the training.
All right. Because when I go there, I realize when I'm on Southwest, they will give me as many bags of chips as I want because they will give me the pickle. They will give me as many sodas as I want. Now, I know they cut people off with alcohol. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, we have to cut you off with the alcohol. But anything else you want, look, if you want 3 cans of soda, we'll give you 3 cans of soda.
They sure do, and I appreciate that about it. They wouldn't give me the whole can. Like, hey, just give me a can of water so I can put this in my own water bottle. They're like, here you go. You want some ice with that? And I've always appreciated customer service. So you've been flying the friendly skies, and so I want to get in your mindset. When you heard about COVID-19 or coronavirus, what was your thoughts as you're flying the friendly skies, you going all over the place? What were you thinking?
Initially, my thought process was like probably most people, it won't happen to me. You know, when it initially um, came out and it was mostly in Asia, I was thinking, like this is something that's very similar to Ebola or Zika virus. You don't hear people getting it. I don't. It's nothing to really worry about. So that was my initial thought process.
So when did things start to change? When did you start thinking like, okay, I got to be more careful? Did they start giving you gloves or masks to wear on the flights?
So things started to change when you start hearing about the um, people that were getting in the U.S. So people started to take it seriously. We started to on the plane making sure. I mean, and granted, we wash our hands and stuff, but it was like, okay, every time somebody touched me, oh, okay, let me let me get this hand sanitizer, or let me wash my hands. And then when you start hearing people that was getting it, other flight attendants, possibly had it, or it was hard to get tests for it. It was okay. So now I got to really start taking it serious.
And so while you're going through this, what was the process of realizing you actually contracted it? Like you before that, did you come in contact with other flight attendants that may have had it? And when did you realize, hey, I need to go get tested for this?
Okay, so I didn't come in contact with any other flight attendants that I know of that had it. Initially, I'm in Atlanta, so it's pollen is out now and it's heavy. So I initially thought, okay, this is allergy. So I was taking my medicine, taking allergy medicine, and I developed this really bad dry cough. And I was okay, so I'm not 100% sure if this is still allergies or not, but I'm going to let it see if it'll, surpass. So I kept on going and this cough did not subside. So I was talking to a friend of mine that's in medical school, and I said, you know what? I think I need to go to the emergency room. And I was actually on an overnight. I was in Milwaukee at the time. And I went to the emergency room and I told them, I said, hey, listen, I want to get tested for COVID-19. They asked me what my symptoms was. And I didn't initially have all the symptoms that they look for. And the main thing that they look for is a fever during the time of testing. And so I didn't have a fever. And the lady said, well, he is a flight attendant. And the other nurse said, you know what, let's go ahead and test them, because they were going to send me home. They were ready to send me back into, the general population. And I would have still been walking around giving it to everybody I come in contact with, So, so.
Hey, wait. I'm glad we can't catch it through the TV screen because you just coughed, bro. So I'm glad. And listen, let me just say this too. I don't want to make people think we're taking this lightly. It is very tough thing right now to deal with, and people have died from this. There's family members who may be listening to this who've lost loved ones to this, and so we're not trying to make light of it. But I'm very grateful that you are recovering. But I want you to tell your story, because a lot of things I'm seeing on TV now is the interviews of people who are on their deathbeds or in a hospital, and we don't hear a lot from people who are recovering. So I wanted to get your story as well. So even though I'm joking about, it's not a joke at all, but I want to be able to have some levity to this, because it's always doom and gloom, and I want to be in the face of this. Also say, hey, we can still smile, we can still enjoy the life that we have today. So they were going to send you back.
Absolutely.
They tested you in Milwaukee, which is my hometown, by the way. They test you in Milwaukee. Take me through that process.
So they tested me in Milwaukee, and it's very similar to a flu test. So they put the swab down your nasal passages, and I went on, about my business. They said they'll call me, and they said 5 days.
5 days?
So it actually took them 8 days to get the test results.
Wow.
Yeah, so I actually did not get the test results for 8 days. So then a few days later, I got really fatigued, and I had a really bad fever. I woke up and my entire body was completely wet. All of my clothes I had on was completely wet. And I was just exhausted all day, every day for about 3 days. And I was taking Advil around the clock to try to cut the fever, and which we know now that you should not take Advil. They want you to take Tylenol because it's the adverse effect to the virus. So if anybody out here listening, they think they have it, stay away from Advil and ibuprofen.
So wait a minute. So you 8 days, you get the results. Where are you at this point? So you in Milwaukee. So you went back flight attendant for 8 days.
Yeah, because in my head, because they were going to turn me away, I didn't think I had it. I thought it was, because basically they made it sound like they was going to give it to me as a courtesy, as a process of elimination. So I continued on working, and I continued on with that trip. But then at this time, when I'm fatigued, I'm at home, and I was asleep, woke up, body completely wet, tired for 2-3 days at a time. Then when I realized that I really think I have this, is when I started to get shortness of breath. And I started to get shortness of breath on I think Monday. And on that Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday, they called me and told me, they gave me the test results and told me I was positive for COVID-19.
So how long have you been at home? So you were at home at this point. You were done with that trip. You're back in Atlanta. How long were you at home before you got the test results?
About maybe 3 or 4 days.
Okay. So you were at home. So were you like self-quarantine in a sense? Like you weren't trying, because you weren't feeling well. So you weren't trying to go to the mall and hang out at Peachtree, right? You were just at the house.
Absolutely. I was home chilling, but I mean, I was still, if I needed to go to the grocery store, whatever the case may be, I would still go. But it wasn't until I got the test results that I really isolated myself.
And so that process, so when does your mindset change from going, oh, this is just, I'm pretty sure if you thought you got the fever, you got the sweats, you thought, hey, I definitely probably have it.
Absolutely. So I knew I had it before they gave me the test results, probably 2-3 days before they gave it to me, but my mindset definitely changed when I actually got the test results. When I got that call and they told me it was positive for COVID-19, my mindset changed a lot. I had already been watching the news. I had been seeing the death rates. I had seen, the people struggling to breathe and all that. And then it became real because, it's like, this could be me in a few days. It can take a turn for the worse at any time.
So your symptoms were, you had the cough. At that point, you had the sweats, you had the fever. Do you have any shortness of breath? Did you have the breathing problems?
Yeah, I had the shortness of breath. That was pretty much the last symptom that came.
Okay.
And I would try to take deep breaths, and it's like my chest would hurt. Like I could barely, I would try to go take a deep breath, and it was like painful to do.
So did you go back to the doctor or call the doctor, or you be able to get back to the hospital at this point?
So I went back to the doctor, and I went to the emergency room. But the problem was I was trying to, because on the news they say, if you have it, if you think you have it, don't just come to the emergency room, because obviously I want to be cautious and not give it to anybody else. I don't want to, especially I don't want to run into someone that's elderly or whatever the case may be. So I went to the emergency room, had my mask on, had my gloves on, all of that to protect people that may come in contact with me. And they said that I had a little pneumonia, so they gave me a Z-Pack, and they basically just sent me back home because my oxygen levels were pretty high. So the doctor was saying that it was nothing. That he could see that he would that he would think that I wouldn't make a full recovery.
So nothing that they would want to admit you to the hospital. So walk me through. You go into the emergency room. You get there. Is it chaotic there? Is it? I don't know what Atlanta's like. I don't know what the hospitals there are like.
So this is the crazy thing. The emergency room in Milwaukee, the emergency room in Atlanta, and I actually had another friend who went to the emergency room. Absolutely nobody in them. So it's kind of weird how the media portrays a lot of things, because I had two experiences with emergency rooms, and a friend of mine had an experience with the emergency room. And every time it was nobody in them. And those doctors, so I think maybe in New York or in New Orleans, they may have a problem, but I don't think it's a huge problem with the emergency rooms in regular, cities where it's not as prevalent.
Right. So now you're diagnosed. You go home. So what day are you on now? Have you been counting the days? What day are you on now of having the virus and for your recovery?
Yeah. I haven't officially been counting the days, but I tested on the 17th of March. So I'm into like week 21. I mean, day like 21 or something. But it looks like I might have got it on like maybe I don't know, 13th, 14th. It lies dormant for a while, so it's like it's no really telling how long I had it before, the symptoms presented itself.
Okay. So let's talk about your recovery, because, when I called you yesterday and we talked for a little bit, you sounded like you were up in spirits. You sounded like, I couldn't tell that you were actually sick or in your deathbed, so to speak. And even now, you seem like you're doing pretty well. So what's going on now? Where are you at?
Okay. Well, so it took a while to get here. I'm not, I will not say that it was just pieces and cream, because I do live by myself. I am single. It was a blessing to have friends, and I have a few family members that live here in Atlanta. So, they were dropping off groceries at my door. I had friends that was, dropping off all type of remedies. They was looking, they saw online. They would, hey, try this at your door. I'm gone.
Yeah. So wait. Yeah, you told me yesterday. You said like you probably got you have the actual experience of a DoorDash. They drop stuff at your door. They dash. They gone. They text you.
And that my goddaughter's mom was like, "Don't be offended, but I'm already in the car, gone." But it was a blessing to have friends that, they dropped off, Tylenol, they dropped off sea moss and elderberry and, black seed oil and, it was, boil this fresh ginger and, lemon and, all type of stuff.
Now I know you're a Christian, so I'm just wondering, nobody wanted to come lay hands on you this time, huh?
So listen, so nobody wanted to come lay hands on me. But I will tell you that it got to the point where I had to stop watching social media, and I had to Facebook in particular, and I had to stop looking at the news because fear had started to creep up in me, and I had to begin to pray to God, and I lay hands on myself because at one point I was getting making sure like my insurance policies and stuff were out and available and it wasn't because I felt like, oh my God, I can't breathe this bad and this may be my last night, but it was because of social media and because of the news. All they portray is the worst case scenario. And so I was like, okay, wait, I gotta get off social media. I have to stop watching the news. And I need to lay hands on myself and begin to speak life into myself because this thing can't beat me, and that was my thought process.
And I think it's important that you are taking care of yourself. You're not just walking out going, this thing can't beat me, but you're taking the precautionary steps. But I think also in our mindset to be watching all that all the time. And you're right, fear will creep in and we just we'll live in fear versus living in courage and saying, I'm gonna have courage. And that means moving in face of that fear because it's real. But the more you feed yourself the fearful stuff and everybody's down, all images there, then I get it. And I get why the media may be doing that to help people see this is serious because a lot of people aren't taking it serious. But at the same time, we got to keep ourselves in a good place to say, you know what, I need to take care of myself and do what's best for me. And so I want to talk about this issue too because, We've been sheltered in place for a while here in California. I think we may have been the first state to do it. Orders to shelter in place. Now they call it stay-at-home orders, so on and so forth. And I always like to keep the difference between quarantine and stay at home or shelter in place, because I think quarantine is if you got it, stay at home. You can't go to the grocery store. You quarantine.
Right.
Stay.
Exactly.
Shelter in place. Stay at home. Hey, you need something? Go out once, twice a week, maybe. Go ride your bike to get fresh air. But you quarantine, and I just want to talk to this piece. You're quarantined and you're single.
Absolutely.
And people have been complaining about being sheltered in place with their family members, having people talk to you and all that. But talk about being quarantined and being single.
So it's a struggle, living by yourself. And even I'm talking about not even a roommate. So, it's like going crazy in this house by myself, no human interaction. Like I said, people would come over, but they'll leave it at the door and keep running. So it was like I'm over here about to draw on the wall with crayons. But it definitely gave me an opportunity to do a lot of meditation. I had been doing yoga, so I would get online on YouTube, pull up a yoga, beginner's yoga, do some yoga. Once I got better. But you remember Pearl from 227?
Pearl? Oh, wait, so you've been watching 227?
No, I would I have a window in my kitchen that I would just stick my head out the window just to get fresh air.
So you became the man gospel to everybody in the neighborhood. Everybody do it, right?
Yeah, but the problem is that, like, in my area, like, it's not like California. So no one's walking out. Like, you barely see people. Well, now you're starting to see people jog down the street or whatever. But before, it's like I live in an area where it's like you don't really see people. They, people come in, they go in their house, and it's an unfortunate situation. I kind of wish I did live in a more, walkable area where people was out and I could at least see people.
Well, I appreciate you staying in quarantine and doing what you can do to help the virus stop. So now tell me, they told you what are your directions to know when you are able to leave your house again?
So basically, unfortunately, they don't test you again to make sure you don't have it. So the directive was when you don't have any more symptoms, still wait 3 more days before you decide to go out in the general population.
Wow. So what does that look like to you? Are you going to wait the minimum 3? You going to try to wait a week? What is it? I know it's got to be hard sitting there by yourself, but.
Basically, I went out yesterday for the first time. I haven't had any symptoms probably since Sunday. So I went out yesterday to the grocery store. But I still had on the mask, my gloves, because it's still a little scary. Like, now I have to self-diagnose myself. Do I have it or do I not have it?
Right. So it's been a week. So basically you haven't had symptoms in a week. And so from there you went out with the face mask still, with the gloves, because you're just concerned about just to make sure.
Right. But for my job, I can go back to work starting on Wednesday. And because they make you stay out 2 weeks from the day you got your test results. So,
And there's no way. Can you call the doctor and say, hey, can I get another test? Or can I? Nothing.
They're not giving up follow-up tests.
Man. Because I heard a lady who thought, I think she was a news reporter or something, works for NBC, I think. She had it, recovered. She went to give some blood, which I wouldn't be giving blood that soon anyway, but she went to get some blood, and then they found out she still had it. So that's just a concern.
Oh, wow.
It's just a concern. Like, I just thought, I know why she's trying to give blood, but if you just had it, I'll probably hold off for a minute, Yeah,
I wouldn't give blood right away.
And maybe that's the way you can find out whether you don't have it or not. Maybe that's the only, because if they're not giving you tests, I know if you try to give blood, which they need, then they will test you. I'm not giving you directives on what to do,
okay.
But that's just a thought. But because I think for you and for me, if I was a flight attendant and I got to go back to work, I want to go back to work, I would want to make sure I don't have it. You know what I mean? I want to make sure
Absolutely.
that I do not have it before I, like you said, fly the friendly skies, because
Right.
you wouldn't be making it that friendly if you. And did they tell you anything about what are your chances of getting it again? Did they tell you any of that?
They didn't. I mean, if I just went off of social media or the news, they believe that you cannot contract it again because your body built up antibodies. So just going off of what the news is saying, I don't think I can get it again, but I don't know for sure. And it's new. It's a new virus, so they don't really know all the ins and outs of it.
All right. Well, I want to wrap up the show. I really appreciate you being on. What would be your advice to people who are in the same? We're all in the same situation, trying to figure out how not to get it, or I guess I would give it advice to people who are like me who don't have it yet, then people who may have it, and then what would you say? Just in your final thoughts, I guess.
I think my final advice would be listen to the government, listen to what everyone's saying, so they can get a handle on it. I know we were talking yesterday, and I don't know if you really wanted to touch on this, but with the news and everything, I really believe, and I looked up the statistics. This, as of March 31st, I don't know what it is now, but it was over 160,000 cases in the U.S. with 3,004 deaths. But last flu season had 80,000 deaths. So I believe that the media is, it's like we're afraid because the media has made a big deal out of it. And I'm not saying that it's not a big deal, because any virus that kills people is a big deal. But we don't go through all of this because of the flu, or you know what I'm saying? And the flu killed like 80,000 people last flu season. So, I mean, you really compare the numbers. I mean, it's still serious, and we should definitely adhere to whatever the government is telling us to do. But I would not say not live your life.
But you would agree with the shelter-in-place orders and all that. But I guess we can probably agree on this. Don't live in fear. I know this is a quote going around with C.S. Lewis.
Absolutely. Don't live in fear.
Yeah, C.S. Lewis got this quote. People are putting it all on social media saying, it was more of referring to atomic bomb back in his time, saying if it's the threat of it's going to come, if it does come, let it find us doing all these normal things in life. And I agree with that to a certain extent. I mean, I believe in the shelter in place so we don't contract it. But in the meantime, I'm going to do the things I need to do. As a matter of fact, I just made a video the other day talking about how to have fun in quarantine. I'm having a great time with my kids. And I'm looking for the good in the situation and figuring out how I can live my best life, even though we're sheltered in place, even though we're on top of each other. And we do all need some peaceful time. Like, it's time out. Everybody go to your corner, chill out, read a book, eat a pancake. Absolutely. I don't know. But I agree with you. Don't live in fear. And I think if you keep plugged into social media all the time, into the news all the time, check in with the news. Check in with sources you trust. But all day, every day, having that on, I don't think it's good for anybody. Psychological, there's social emotional well-being. It's not. So
it's not.
Well, man, I really appreciate you coming on, and maybe we can have you come on again after you get back to the friendly skies and see how things are going. And I think we'll find out next couple of weeks if the curve's going to flatten, if it is as deadly as they say it is. And I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff we need to measure out, but ultimately I don't want to live in fear, and I think that's important that we don't live in fear. We make the best choices we can make in the moment, because I don't know if you know this, Javon, but one of my favorite sayings is this: when you make better choices, you'll live a better life, so choose well.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Amen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey man, thanks for having me. Thanks for being on the show. I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate your heart for trying not to spread the virus. And I pray for you, because I know it's got to be tough sometimes being in quarantine by yourself. But I know, and people, and really, you should do a blog post on about the real DoorDash, because your friends are doing the real DoorDash.
They're right.
Thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.